To begin with, I would like to thank IIP Trade Fair to have me speak and present on ornamental fish out here. God Almighty for giving me a privilege to be at this particular stage. So what I'm going to be talking about is little on keeping, little on breeding, in the sense when it comes to breeding is something I spend my lifetime, so I don't think I can put into a nutshell. But yes, when it comes to preparing a fish to breed and all, which is one of the most important things. People think you can just bring in a fish and start breeding them. It doesn't really happen that way. So let's go with the flow. So of course, Oscar is one of my favorite fish also, and we have a lot of them at our farms. A little on keeping, because if we have, I don't know how many people are just wanting to get into fish keeping, so I thought I'll put in some points for the ones that are just going to be beginning. These are some things that one should, when they think of starting or keeping a fish as a hobby, a suitable place in the house, office or lobby of the building. Some people have I've seen some beautiful tanks lying in the Lodha office, buildings, complexes, in the lobbies of theirs. Do some research about the ornamental fish that you need to keep, It's not just because what happens is one is always saddened when you have a fish tank, you go to a shop, you buy a fish tank, you buy some fish where you don't have the trader or the fish keeper giving you a knowledge of what that fish is all about. You put it into a tank and next day you see that it's swimming no more, and then you're so dejected, you actually get out of the hobby, so do a little study. And today Google has a lot of options and gives you a lot of ideas onto how you can do some fish keeping. Decide a budget that you would like to spend on it and its maintenance cost further. People actually do that first investment, they don't even realize it, whether it's big or small. But what it is really getting in, what are you really getting into? Are you being able to do the further expenses, because feeding, maintaining, water quality, electricity, running a power head into these tanks all make a lot of difference. Research on a suitable breed variety based on your water quality. Water quality is one of the most important thing for the fish. So you have your soft water fish, you have your hard water fish, and today I know people keeping hobbies. The only option that they have to fill their tanks is with either the borewell water. Normally the borewell water or hard water. So you need to understand, if you're going to have borewell water which you're going to be using, so keep a fish that sticks according to that particular parameters. Otherwise it doesn't help. If you put a soft water fish into it, next day you see them, they're all stuck or clustered to the corner, and you're not able to even sort it out. You don't know what to do about it. You don't have anybody who can help you with it. So study that which water and parameters. Choose your tank size. That's another thing that one should think. Of course, while people think having a bigger tank is a bigger maintenance, it's the other way actually. The smaller tanks need more maintenance because you need a better water change and all that, because of the density that you try to hold into a small tank. People don't realize that, but if it's a bigger tank, you can just siphon 20% of the water and do it a weekly change, or rely on to lovely power heads and internal filters. So choose an appropriate filter, internal or external. So when you have a tank, understand what liter of tank you're going to have, and what kind of a filter is going to work for that amount of liter. Sometimes people actually have a huge tank and you see a small power head with a sponge in it. It's not going to help. You say, how much is it really going to cycle and do well? Choose a heater and a thermometer. That depends, when you're keeping fish in a larger tank and you're going to do heavy water changes or something. These heaters and thermometers also, make a difference. Buying water conditioners, Of course, normally the ones that you go into a shop, you get the blue liquid and the white liquid, So, but there are many other water conditioners that one can buy, and and the shopkeepers could help you with those things. Choose your aquarium decor. That's another thing. See, people want to keep a fish, but they know that without a decor it may not look nice. So if you are having a substract, then find a substract that helps you actually grow some plants onto it. Or if you're not having a substract, try to see that you have driftwoods where you can actually tie up some anubias and other varieties of ferns which make the tanks look nice. And the gravel filters is also a important thing that one could do. If you don't want to change your water regularly, then cycle your tank. That's another important thing, because people, a new hobbyist, what they do is they just buy a tank, fill in water, and immediately put in the fish. If you have not cycled your tank, if you have a filter and you have not cycled your tank, the first stage of the fish is very difficult, because the ammonia is not controlled, the bacteria is not developed into the sponge. So those are things. So you get bacteria that you can actually buy and start recycling your tank in advance. After that, which your fish is ready to go into the tank, you see. So this was a little on the keeping. Why keeping an ornamental fish? I come from the hospitality world, so I would come back home, and the only thing I could distress on was my fish tanks, because I have good number of fish tanks even when it was just a hobby. I would have different varieties of fish, and people used to wonder, Albert, you just sleep for 4 hours and you're back at work. But the 4 hours of sleep and the distressing that I used to do with these things also used to help a lot. So it very clearly states, ornamental fish keeps reduces stress and anxiety. Now, if you go to see a lot of dispensaries, doctors' dispensaries, few of them are doing that now. Where they have a fish tank in the dispensary. You see, when the little child gets vaccinated, comes out crying, you keep him in front of the fish tank, and they're all okay. It's all over. But if you go towards Europe and US and all, most of the dispensaries do have fish tanks in their office. Even large corporates have fish tanks in their office, if you go to see. Lowers blood pressure, heart rate, helps with hyperactive children. Now this little boy is actually my staff's son. So all the pictures that I have in this is from my hatchery and from my production area. I have not taken any external photographs at all over here in my entire slide. So this, we call him Laddu actually. He was actually crying because he wanted to watch cartoon, and we picked him up and we kept him on a stool and said, you watch the fish. And he was happy, and the smile comes up there. It promotes learning, because I'm still learning, and I've learned a lot over the years. So it actually promotes learning, because when you want to breed a particular variety of fish, everybody has their own way of doing it. What works good for a breeder out here may not work good for me. I have to adapt it in my own very way. That is why, hence, I look at buying my own brood stock and developing it and all that. Ornamental fish keeping is one of the largest hobby in the world. I don't know how many of you people really realize that, but believe me, if you look at the time of during COVID, the hobby actually grew up. All the pet hobby actually grew up in a very big way. And one of the hobby that people could actually look into was fish keeping. And myself, my partner, we should actually go on the bike and deliver fish to people, whether it was 2 fish or 4 fish. But we did it. We should charge them lesser than the We Fast, but we used to do it because it was helping somebody actually reduce the stress and all that. Preparing to breed an ornamental fish. So this is going to be a part of all the breeding activities that I was wanting to talk about. When you get into breeding, of course, many of you out here are legendary breeders, so I'm sure they will all agree, you have to have tanks of different sizes for breeding different ornamental fish. The Oscar fish will have a larger tank, whereas a tetra would go into a smaller tank. So this is a snapshot of my tetra room, where these tanks are used specially for the barb family and the bigger tetra family like the red eye and the Columbicus tetras and all. Then I have another this thing. Here you have a pair. I'm trying to make something new, which is we try to work a lot on new varieties and colors. So that's a clowned angel male with a dark green angel female, and you can see the eggs over there. The fries have hatched too. We also have some youngs here and there, which so tanks of different sizes, selection of broodstock for breeding each generation. We are at ATK, we are very particular about our broodstock. So most of our broodstocks are developed and grown in our own ponds. You'll get to see some pics of those also. And I know it's time consuming, because when you're trying to breed your own broodstock, you have your own broodstock. Some take just 6 months, 4 months. Some take about a couple of years, to actually come to that maturity. When it comes to fish like sevrams and discus and all that, they take about 18 to 24 months. Water quality needs to be adjusted according to the fish requirement. I'm sure most of you would understand. See, some of the cichlids would breed in the water with a little higher TDS, whereas a fish like a tetra would really require soft water. So adjusting those water parameters is also very important. Water temperature. You see, water temperature is another challenge where it comes to fish breeding. Your tetras, all these varieties, that's what we are breeding a lot as of now, because they need a colder climate, and once it gets cold, when the temperature drops from 28 to 18 and 17, which happens at our farm and in our area where I live, we start breeding our tetras and all that. But on the other end, since we are into wholesaling and we are into the market, we also see that we still breed our Oscars, which needs warmer this thing. So we maintain those kind of temperatures in those rooms for them to actually breed. So that's their regular feeding regime. Feeding regime is another very important thing which I believe, because while I'm into aviculture also, we don't breed the birds or the fish all the year round. There is a certain period where you give them just normal food, and then when you want to pet them up for their breeding, then you start feeding them higher protein and all that, and that's when they get into those conditions. A regular feed may not actually bring a fish into that condition immediately. So these are some things that we also do at our end. The breeding stock goes into a different room, and they are given a different diet. The tanks are numbered. The log maintained what feed is going to which fish particular feed. Related strains and varieties. So when we think of tetras, we see what are the other fish that can go along with that same temperatures. So we look at all those kind of things. Then you need your breeding materials, the props or whatever you say. These nylon ropes that we shred it up totally. Your cotton this thing. What do you use for your soft toys? We make mops of those. You see in the pic over there are mops over there, which are from the soft toy kind of a thing, cotton mops. Sponge filters. I'll show you stuff on the sponge filters, also the babies that are there. Breeding cones, breeding caves, depending on the variety of fish. Breeding cones would go for an angel or for a discus, and where breeding caves for plecos. So now go to preparing to breed a fish, ornamental fish. So firstly, to separate the genders of two different, the same fish into two different tanks. What we do is when it comes to tetras, like the black neon you see out there, we would separate them for at least a week or two. The males and the females, feed them differently, get them ready, and then put them together for breeding. While people do group breeding, we do with single tanks. It's a tedious job, but that's how it is. When it comes to other live bearers, like you see the platies out there, we grow them separately. We do our selecting of the broodstock into separate tanks, and then use the males that we really want to use, something that's deep in color. If you see the color intensity, we don't do any color feeding over here for our broodstocks and all that. So you see the color intensity is great. And not only that, the quality of the fish. Then live bearers, egg layers. So in the egg layers you have, the scatterers, you have, the bubble nest builders. Then breeding tanks of different size, water storage facilities within the hatchery limit. That's another important thing, which we do, because what happens is when you are having a breeding room, it's important that you have your water stored in that same area, because the temperature shouldn't change. The water parameters. All these things do make a lot of difference to the breeding cycle. A specific area where the eggs fry parent fish to be moved after breeding. Now, later on I will show you a pic of the tetra room also. Now, this room is designed in a manner where every alternate day you need to put in a new set of pairs for breeding. So, once they lay, the next day you're moving the eggs into a different tank. Then from that tank you're moving the fries after they hatched into a different tank. So that's how the cycling is done. If you really want to do mass breeding, and the market is all about numbers today. The first live feed, micro feed, which needs to be ready to be used before the pairs are set for breeding. A lot of people, we also used to do those mistakes. We have already put the pair to breed, and then we start trying to make the infusory and all, which takes about 3 days or a week. And then we realize that we didn't have the ready feed for the fries, and we start losing them, because they need the feed immediately after the egg yolk is used. Then the work shed should be designed in such a way that the tanks get filtered sunlight and these things. Now, there are fish that breed in the evening, like the angels. One must have seen the angels normally breed in the evenings, as it starts getting dusk. Whereas the tetras, when they get the first ray of light, that's why positioning those breeding rooms in that manner is also very important. So, sunlight and all these things are factors that are looked into. Materials needed for breeding. So, you see heaters, filters, air stones. Normally our tanks will have one air stone and one filter. So the reason is, if something breaks down, or if the filters come up or something, if the air stone has not worked, at least you have a thing. And the type of fish nets you use, because the fish nets that you normally you get in the market are never of great quality. People don't realize that the material that is used actually rubs this fish, scratches the fish, and when you put them when you have handled it and you put into another tank, they are bruised, and if the water quality is not good, it can always get some kind of infection, and you don't realize what really caused it. Then you may blame the water temperature, you blame all the other factors to it, not actually the net that you used. So we make our own nets. We have a person who makes our own nets for us. I choose the material that we need to use. Water drain system, the inlet system. So avoid as much as possible where you don't have to use your hands or your pipes. But of course, in our hatchery we do it not in it's a hatchery within the city and not in Israel. So the things work very differently. Having these chemicals like the antibiotics, methylene blue, the acroflavin and these things also is very important. You have to keep it ready with you. You need to have that in your store or in your cupboard or in your medicine box. Then of course potassium we use for a lot of disinfecting our tanks and all that, but it all depends on how you use it, the quantity that you use it in. Then aeration equipments, the blower pumps and all that. So we actually don't use many of the blowers. We use the fan blowers because fan blowers are the best, I feel, and has enough of pressure, and it can be, the worst that can happen, either the capacitor can go or the winding, and you can always have it repaired as fast as possible. Unlike the blowers, you have to actually look hunting for people who can do it for you. Now here, see, these are the traps that we use for our light bearers. We personally have this made for us, customized for us. Then that's a tetra room, the other tanks that I wanted to show you all. Now here you see, this is the batch of black phantom fries on the sponge filter. They're actually getting something to eat there, that is why they're there, So see, these are some things that actually at times help out, but cleaning the sponge filter is very important during their growth time. And then you have my staff Sandeep over there, who is actually siphoning a tank with fries in it, with a small pipe, with a sponge added to it, because it's a very tedious job, breeding a fish and siphoning those tanks. Actually, his entire day goes into that, and he is not able to look at the larger fish at times. And of course, the water constraints you have when you are in a complex. So, yep, these are some of our tuxedo angels that we newly brought, which came from abroad, and these are the pure line of tuxedo angels. Actually, when I brought them as thumbnail size, also they had their tuxedo markings on them. Otherwise, it's very difficult to actually get the pure tuxedo angels. And here you see there are mix of all fries. But when I showed you the clown angel, there are some fries from the clown angel, getting the green on them, which they call the green Pinoy clown angels. Criteria for selecting ornamental fish. Of course, when you want to start breeding, you will actually want to look into your tanks, and you just can't just go and picking up males and females. You will want to watch them properly, whether their gills are okay, whether their fins are okay, whether they're in the best of form. So they have to be attractive and brilliantly colored. So we will always, because our company believes a lot in quality, you see, and there are a lot of fish that come into the market today. A good example is the glow light tetras now, the widow tetras. When they earlier used to come in, the colors were beautifully, brilliantly colored, and now you see their colors are all diminishing slowly. That is because they don't look at the genetics of it, and they don't bother to also, because they just want to push it into the market in big quantities. But even with those market challenges, we see to it that we breed quality. So attractive and brilliantly colored, compatible to each other. So very important, when I say compatible with each other, it's like, being in love marriage or, being or arranged marriage. So we see that, if it is breeding, if you are breeding Oscars, we see that one type of Oscars are actually put into, 6 feet tank or in a pond, and we let them pair by themselves, because the ones that pair by themselves are always the best breeders, you see. And we did do that similarly with the angels and all that. Of course, here we know there are many people that put in 200-300 pairs of angels, so they have to just pick up the males and females and put them together. But what is the ratio of of breeding and hatchability? Yes, there are some great legendary breeders who have done that in the beginning, but we see that we try to see that they are. I mean, we have the space. We use the best. Best use of, we make best use of the space that we have, so that we can put the one variety into the same tank, and let them pair and just start moving them out. Fish should be healthy, disease free, and from a reliable source. Very, very important. If you are getting into breeding and just picking up fish from the market becomes a little difficult. So that's how today we have our own, we collect our own brood stocks, or we buy it from reliable breeders. Sometimes you don't want to go to a breeder and buy it. Why should I buy his fish? Then he'll say, I know, mera machi hai karke. But by keeping all those things aside, and really, picking up fish from a breeder does help. Because you know that the infection and all would be to the least. I wouldn't say that there's no infection, because the fish is always carrying some kind of infection. Always, it's only the water, weather, or something that triggers it. When things go wrong. The behavior of the fish should be lively, well spread fins, actively swimming. Then the eyes should be bright, and color of their gills. These are little details that we would actually go into, and I know many breeders out here who are around go into those details while putting them together. Because so that when you breed them, you don't have deformities and all that. What's the use if I breed fish and I have 10% which is deformed, and while in their growth you lose another 10% for some reason or the other. So it's a loss. So it's better to select your fish when you want to breed them. The pairing site should be uniform and to have reached their fertility stage. Now that's another very important thing. People look at a size and they think the fish is ready for breeding. Excuse me. But many of us don't know that there are people that actually have started growing their fish faster than they can really grow, you see. And since we think the size is big, I mean they are in breeding size, and you put them to breed and you say, oh, they aren't fertilizing, they're getting bad eggs. So there is an age, for every species to breed. And if you don't look at that, and if you don't compare it, and especially that is why holding your own brood stock is very important. When you breed something, everybody wants to sell everything that they have bred. They don't think of keeping a few aside so that you can use it for your breeding stock. Yeah, but of course space is important, you see. Pairing in breeding a particular variety of fish, over the years there comes the need to introduce an outcross. That's another thing we have seen now. Some time back, we realized that fish like black ghost, some fish like the angels, there was a lot of deformity arising. The reason behind it is because people were all having the same strain. There was no outcross coming into it, and it started showing. Where the antenna fin is not there, or something is missing. The gill is cut. So these kind of deformities would come in. So while I was doing special guppies, I used to have that issue. So what I started doing was, I used to have 2 lines of fish. If it was red guppies, I would have 2 lines of red guppies, okay, and introduce the outcross only when required, till the time you realize that something is growing around, and it's a time for getting an outcross. So that's also a very important thing. So that's why when it comes to even Oscars today, we have a set of Oscars that we've actually imported it. We paid a price for it, has absolutely no great color, nothing, but we bought it so that we can use it as an outcross tomorrow. Similarly with the angels that we have picked up, So outcross and maintaining a couple of lines is important if space permits. A strict quarantine process with preventive medication based on variety that is prone to a month or 2 before breeding is advisable. So preparing, when we think of preparing a fish today, most of the old hatcheries, what they do is, the fish is ready, pick it up, put it into a tank to breed. And then when you start breeding it, you realize it gets some kind of sickness and your breeding program gets messed up. So it's always good that you do your preventive treatment, whatever you need to do for your fish, before you actually get them into the breeding tanks. So that's very, very important. A strict breeding regime, understanding the fish digestive system before breeding is also very important. We think that, now it's time for breeding, so let's pet them up with protein food. Not every fish can digest that kind of a protein. So what is the intake of fibers and all these kind of things. When you're preparing your feed, also you need to realize this. Raising ornamental fish to a marketable size. Again, these are all fish from our farm. you have the geophagus out there, you have the Shubati barbs, the flarons, the small fellows. They are not even, I think they're just about 1.5 inch. Their heads have already started popping up because that's the quality that we breed. With the female flaron also had a good head. Then those are those Dumbo ear guppies, which is actually a treat for eyes. You know, to anybody wanting, whoever comes over there, they want to have these guppies. You know, because they're so brilliantly colored and they look so nice. So raise water quality is important. Water temperature for breeding. Dissolved oxygen in the water is also very important. So you know, your aeration in the water, how you can maintain the oxygen also is holding the density, you know, because when you have higher density, the oxygen level goes very low, you know. So people don't realize this, you know. They think, you know, it should be clumped together. Well, there are reasons for them to be doing that too. Illumination in the growing area, because the more light you give and the feeding regimes for the growing fish also, you know, helps the growing. Stocking density, as I mentioned. Feed, we have a varied feed that we give our fish, right from live feed to prepared food as well as pelleted feed. So there is a feeding regime that goes on. You know, every day there is a different program, there is a process to it. Disease prevention, yeah, one can do that by actually avoiding, you know, new fish coming into your hatchery. You know, that's one very important thing. You know, prevent your disease by maintaining the proper water temperatures, the feed that you give, how good it is, cleanliness, all these things. Your ciphering, you know, sponging of the tanks, all very important. Only, you know, and when you are transporting your fish, it's only the healthy fish actually that lands up on the other end alive, you know. So very important that your fish is healthy, that you pack. We look into that in a very big detail because we've been sending fish all over India, and you know, there are fish that we quarantine for 2 to 3 days. There are some fish that we quarantine for just for a day, you know, depending on the distance that is going to be traveling. So very important. People think, you know, feeding is okay, but we need to look at that. Goal of selective breeding. So you can see these foottails out here. This is, you know, all because of our selective breeding that is being done. You see, a lot of them were just lyre tails. You know, we've converted lyre tails with the lyre tails as well as the sail fin into it. You know, it just brought extra beauty. So improved breeding value. You know, when you breed a fish of this kind, you know, a swordtail that goes in the market for 12 rupees can go up to 45 rupees. You see, production of new varieties. We at our farm look at, you know, producing new varieties. We do that. We are already working on some other new varieties also in the barb family and all that, which you will get to see in some time to come. Manipulating of fish genes to produce better phenotypes. Phenotypes means, you know, adding those kind of things into the fish that brings in more color, shows, you know, the intensity of that as well as the growth ratio and all that. Makes a better fish, larger quantities of fish. You know, when you breed good varieties, good broodstock, your good feeding, your egg count increases. You know, like Matthew was saying, you know, his feed is, the global feed is actually adding, intern is actually adding this thing to it. Then attractiveness, the attractiveness of the fish comes when you do selective breeding, and it increases profitability. So a little about our company. So ATK and our motto, together we grow. So that's Albert, Tushar and Kunal. Of course, Kunal is not here. Tushar is here today with us. Can I ask you to please stand, please? Just stand there. I don't want you to come ahead. So that's Tushar. So Tushar takes care of the marketing while I look into the productive part of it. Kunal looks into the logistics, but he's getting married tomorrow, so that's why he's not here today. Young man. one thing I've realized, I've been breeding fish for many years. Many years in the sense it's been more like a hobby for us, for me at least. It's only I would say it's thanks to pandemic, for getting me into this. You see, because the only thing that I thought, with 150 tanks in my house, which was just a hobby, I said why not convert it into a business. And I anyway wanted to lead a farmer's life, and that's how I got into this. And then we met up and we decided that let's do it in the most organized way. There is a lot of fish breeders today, and unfortunately, the only sad part about it is that they want to be a one-man show. And I realized that while I could produce a lot of fish, unless I can't sell it, it makes no sense absolutely. So Tushar is very great. I mean, he's super where his market, selling part is concerned, and he does a great job there. Thank you, Tushar. And of course, the couple that you see, they are the staff. I mean, Raju, we call him Raju actually. His name is Sandeep Kanoja. When he came from Pratapgarh, he didn't know anything about fish. He's been with me for more than 10 years. And today, he single-handedly handles the entire hatchery at my house. And now, of course, he's married. His wife has also got into fish keeping. She is also does the siphoning and all that. And I'm happy that I've been able to give a family a job, and they actually take a good package home. We have a house for them on a rental basis at this moment. Then the 5 others are from the farm, where I have Akhilesh over there. And then Sunil has been with us for quite some time. Akhilesh has joined us about more than a year back now. So he does the cooking also in the place. So everything is like a family, It has to be looked into, this business has to be looked in that manner. It just cannot be like a white collar business, because it doesn't work that way. Then we have Deva there. Raju has been at that same farm at Wangri. We have a farm at Wangri which is about a half an acre, where we have 45 ponds, as well as more than 500 tanks. We will have some pics to show you on that. And Santosh has been with me from childhood, when I was into aviculture in a big way, so he used to be a part of that. And now he's at the farm. He's also quite knowledgeable. He takes care of, his department is of taking care of the fry, so the raising part, most of it is done by him. So he looks into the smaller department. They all have their own reporting structure. So our strength is our associates that work with us as a family. The vision created by we partners is very clear. Also their vision to grow with the company tomorrow. So we have given them also a vision, you see, because if it is just going to be a job, it's not going to work when it comes to live fish industry, you see. And then everybody says, then comes the blame game, and all these kind of things happen. So incentivizing on targets, we do that. It's just not the salary that they would take back home. Is the tool that we use to drive our associates. This keeps all the excuses of non-performance across the street. We all believe no job is a cheap job, and hands-on with standing and working along with us, our associates. So, during the pandemic, unfortunately, I came to a stage where I had absolutely no work. Even Raju had to go back home because he had to take care of his family. And I used to start siphoning at about 10 in the night, which used to go up to 5 in the morning. I had to save my fish. I had to keep them alive. I had to feed them. Feed was not a problem, So that's a part of the hatchery at the farm. It's actually a very big room. We have good number of tanks, and most of the tanks are filled with Oscars out here. So this is one raising area, and then they go into a different room for coloring when they grow up to a stage of 3.5 to 4 inch. This is, of course, newly pair of widow tetra that is laid on the mop. So let me share how the mops are actually used. Most of the eggs are infertile because she's laid for the first time. So you sometimes have the bad eggs that go, and from the next round, I'm sure there'll be better results. As I said, our hatchery is at Wangri. Okay, when you put in ATK Aqua India, it brings you straight there. to that place. So here we have those 45 cement ponds, in which 20 of our ponds are 10 feet by 4 feet size, all have a depth of 4 feet. 10 ponds are 20 ponds of 10 by 4, 10 ponds 10 feet by 8 feet, then 10 ponds that are 10 feet by 10 feet, and 5 ponds that are 20 feet by 8 feet with the same depth. And by God's grace, we have good amount of water out here. Our bore wells do very well out here. In the summer months when we go down, we also have a canal water that we get to regularly use. That's again that's in the outside area of that big room that you saw. So here also there's good number of tanks. This is back home in my tetra room, where you have the smaller tanks. These are used for neon tetras, black and phantoms and all those kind of fish. A little larger view of the tetra room. Yeah, again a mop where we bred the purple widow tetra. That's Lalita, that's Raju's wife, siphoning. So she does a great job. And believe me, when it comes to fish keeping and the way women can work, believe me, they do a super job. You know, I mean, if they can keep their kitchen so good and neat, believe me, how good these tanks would be. You know, so she has learned it in a very short time, and she does a wonderful job. While her son keeps playing around and watching cartoons. These are the Oscars that's getting ready for our breeding program in the coming season. These are the red chili Oscars. Then that's of course the neon rainbows, and then you have the yellow widow tetras in the pond. That was a big number. Actually, we have sold about 80% of it already. Then of course Maltese. These are the shell dwellers. You know, actually most of it was sold out, and we happened to just keep few of our shells behind. And I said, why not leave it in a tank? And these guys came out from the shells. You know, so they're still there, and they breed in the shells. They don't grow very far big. They are about just 2 inch, and very interesting fish to have actually. That's our some few cories like the sturbies and all there, the whale-tail serpies, the whale-tail tiger barbs. So these are all of our broodstock. The tiger barbs are already breeding. Something new that we bred this time. I happened to pick up some fisherwood catfish, you know, and I said, you know, why not try breeding them? So I went into Google and, you know, tried to get some information. And lucky, we had just moved the black ghost out of the tank, and we said, you know, why not just put one pair of these into it? And the tank was filled with eggs. So now they have grown reasonably. We have started moving them already. These are the purple widow tetra fries. Then you have the albino binos, which are in the pond, but I've taken out some to, you know, just to see. Then electric blue acara, are chevrons. Now chevrons is one of the fish where people you know, don't realize that their fertility only, you know, comes up after they are more than 2 years old. You see, people put them to breed. The females are laying, and they say, you know, there's no fertility, and that's when it keeps on moving, and then it comes back to us, and they start breeding it because it has traveled for 2 years somewhere or the other. That's the fries of the whale-tail tigers. These are some of our broodstock of the albino tiger whale-tails, and of course the widow tetras. Some of our Oscars again. These are some lovely, beautiful copper Oscars that's in the 20 feet pond. Then these are the ones that have just started to be colored. You know, so they're just attaining the colors. This is our breeding pair. So we are very particular about checking the amount of color it has on the, you know, when we put them to breeding. Otherwise, if I have these fries and if they don't color, it's going to be a bad for us. There's something else. Let's see that image. Oh yeah, this. I don't know whether how many of you read these. This thing that's written out here. Breeding is a skill born out of experience, and the only way to succeed is by personally getting into every aspect of fish keeping. People think that one can become a breeder overnight. It's not true. I mean, yes, of course, if you put two good fish together, they will definitely breed. But how do you do it consistently? Is actually getting into every aspect of it. Our day begins very early. With somebody going to catch the Daphnia and then the other siphoning, the feeding part. It's a big job. It's a big job. It's more than a day's job. It's not an 8 hours job. It's not a 12 hours job. I mean, I personally stay at the farm to ensure that things go right. And spend my time with my staff there, which is what brings the success to our company today. So thank you and appreciate your presence. Thank you. Anybody wants to know anything on particular breed and all, we can always finish and talk later, because Rahul is waiting to get his presentation done. We have already been delayed, and I would like you all to please hold on and go through Rahul's this thing. He's been a great discus breeder. He takes discus training programs also, and all the best to you, Rahul. Please come. Thank you.